I am not a world champion in any martial arts and not even close. I never have and never will fight in the UFC. However, the years I've spent in a martial arts gym have actually helped me tremendously in starting and growing my businesses. And in today's video, I'm going to share 7 of those lessons with you so that you can use those lessons to grow your own business, whether you're training with martial arts or not. So let's go. The first lesson I want to share with you today is that even though it takes time to master something, time alone will not guarantee mastery, and it's not enough at all. Even though it takes years, sometimes 5 or 10 years to get to this black belt or black belt level in martial arts, in so many times being and coming regularly to the martial arts gym for 10 or even more years will not guarantee this outcome. The same thing is true in business. Just because you started your first business 10 years ago doesn't make sure, it doesn't guarantee that you will become a successful business owner. I can clearly remember the first time I stepped into the dojo, seeing all those martial artists, all those people with so varied level of skill. So to begin with, I thought it might be talent, it might be their physical fitness or something like that, or maybe strength. But what I figured out very, very quickly is that just because you're coming, just because you're attending, just because you're participating in the training will not make you a master. And it will not determine the pace in which you develop your skills. You have to put in 2 more things. You have to put in focus and you have to put in intensity. If you want your workouts, if you want your trainings, if you want to become a great martial artist, even though getting to this black belt level might take 10 years, just getting to the gym for 10 years will not guarantee this level. You will have to put on focus and you will have to put on intensity into so many of those workouts to get to this result. And it's exactly the same in business. Just because it takes often 3, 5, or 10 years to grow a successful company, it doesn't mean that if you started your first business 3 or 5 or 10 years ago, your business will be successful. It requires so much more. It requires focus and it requires intensity. And each and every one of us as business owners, as entrepreneurs, we know that. We know that sometimes we have this experience when once in a while we have this one day or a couple of hours in which we are so focused, we're so intense that we get so much more done. We might get a week's work done in a day or a 2 weeks work done in just a couple of hours. And think about what would be possible if you would be this focused all the time. And I'm not saying that I am this focused all the time. Clearly, I'm not perfect as well. And it's not about actually having this focus all the time. It's about looking at it, looking at this level of focus, looking at this level of intensity, and not asking myself, how many hours am I spending in the office? It's asking myself, how many of these quality hours am I able to generate in a given time? And if you want to create and grow an amazing business, you will have to spend a lot of this time, a lot of this specific type of time, and not just a lot of hours in the office. The second lesson I learned actually in competing in martial arts and in martial art fights and tournaments is that when you actually believe it's incredibly important, when your so-called quote-unquote life is on the line, you find out that there is more within you. You can go and give and put out more effort. For example, if I'll get out to the street right now and start running, I will get to a point, quickly or slowly, where I'm so tired and I'm so exhausted from running that I feel like I cannot run anymore, right? It's the same in the gym, for example, if I'm lifting weights or anything like that. But when you're in a tournament, when you're in a competition, when you're fighting someone full strength head-on, what you actually realize is that even when it's hard, even when it's painful, even when you want to quit, you can always go for one more round. If you think about 10 more rounds, 5 more rounds, it will be incredibly exhausting and demotivating, and it will be difficult. But you can always put out one more round. And it's exactly the same in business. Because in business, you oftentimes will have to take difficult decisions. You will have to do things that are emotionally difficult or physically difficult for you to do. You will have hard times, even if you do your best, even if you do anything, even if you are in great shape, quote unquote, or have great skills as a business owner, you will still face hard times. And thinking, how can I get more out of myself, revealing this inner strength, putting it out, your soul, your heart into your business, This is one thing that makes the entire difference, that makes a lot of difference in your outcomes as a business owner. Can you put out one more round? Can you put out one more round? Can you do it again even after you fail? Lesson number 3 might catch some of you off guard. Some of you might find it demotivating or contradicting with lesson number 2, but it's absolutely the truth. The truth is that in martial arts and in business, you are never the best. You are never the best. There is always someone stronger. There is always someone more talented. In the martial arts, there is always someone who can kill you. And it's also true in business. There is always a competitor that's smarter, that's more intelligent, that has more resources, that has more money. There is always someone who is better than you. And if you think you can win in business just because you're talented, just because you have the best product, just because you have the best marketing, just because you have something that you think you are the best at, then it's a huge mistake and huge vulnerability. The only thing you can do is decide that you are going to give out and put out more than anyone else ever will. And you of course can use your strength, and you of course can hire people around your weaknesses, but you have to decide if you want to succeed in business, you cannot only rely on your talent. You have to decide that you are going to give out more. Give out more to your suppliers, give out more to your clients, give out more to your employees, to your team, to everyone. And if we're discussing it already, this is actually your job as a business owner, the way I see it. The way I see it, the job of the business owner is to create a system, to create a business in which everybody wins. The suppliers wins, the customers wins, the team wins, and you and your business wins. It might be difficult, it might be hard, but if you stay committed to this one principle, I guarantee you can create huge business success that is also reliable and stable because everybody is happy, no one is getting screwed. Lesson number 4 is that you have to learn how to get hit if you want to win. I can clearly remember the days with which the coach or someone from the team would just punch us as hard as possible and kick us as hard as possible to build this specific kind of stress, because your opponent in the martial arts arena is not going to be just like a sandbag. He's not going to stand there and let you hit him. It's not going to happen the way you want it to happen or the way you plan it to happen. Things are going to get messy. This is just the way it is, and it's also true in business. It's not just about how talented you are and how great you are and how motivated you are when everything goes smooth. Things are going to get messed up. This is just the way it is. Sometimes suppliers will harm you. Sometimes people will hurt you. Sometimes people won't go or deliver on their agreements or their word or promises to you. And this is just the way it is. And so there are basically 3 types of business owners. The first type are no longer business owners because they have been punched in the face in one way or another and they simply never got up. Of course, you want to be one of those people who learns how to get up and get up quickly so that you can keep on doing what you're doing, keep on delivering the goods, keep on delivering all the value you want to deliver to everybody in your organization. But from the people who are actually getting up and might even be getting up quickly, there are 2 types of people. The first one are those who are then getting very cold, very distant, because they have this scar tissue for them. So that when one employee left them or when one supplier didn't deliver on this word, now they're not trusting people. Now they're not giving love to people. Now they're not providing to other people because they have this hurt inside of them, this grudge, this hate, these negative emotions within them. And so even if you are able, in some miracle kind of way, still win in business with those emotions, I would say it's still not worth it. What you want to do is you want to be able to get hit and still hug in the end of the fight. And this is something you learn when you're practicing martial arts. You're punching and kicking each other as hard as you can, but when the clock rings, time is up, fight is over, now we're hugging, now we're friends again. And this is something that you will have to learn to do, to forgive, to clean your negative emotions and keep on giving, keep on doing the best you can with a smile on your face. And that leads me to lesson number 5. Lesson number 5 is that there is time for fighting, there is time for competition, and there is time for training, there is time for practice. I remember so many times when people would come for their first time after I would be training for years, okay? So they would come for their very first practice. And if they were weak and a bit out of shape, usually it would go just as planned and everything would be fine. But every once in a while, someone really strong and great fit would come. And if they would understand when it's time to fight and when it's time to train, everything would go just fine. But so many of them would just kick and punch as hard as they can, usually the weaker people in the gym. Those people rarely came to practice number 2 or to session number 2 because the more experienced people would simply kick their ass off the gym. And this is the reason you have to learn when it's time to practice and when it's time to fight in martial arts. But it's also exactly the same in business. So many times you will have to teach your staff, teach your people to make mistakes and to simply let them do it. You will have to let them make some mistakes. You will have to learn the hard way without being so harsh on them. On the other hand, sometimes you will have to tell them that this is the money time. Here you have to deliver. And if you don't deliver, it's a big problem. And so many managers tend to fall on one of those categories. Either everything's a big deal or nothing's a big deal. And you will have to learn to differentiate. When is this a big deal? When is something you have to go harsh at? Where it is a place you have to actually be tough at? And where can you be more forgiving? When can you let people try and actually develop their own skills on their own way in the hard way? And it's also true when you're negotiating with suppliers or stuff like that, right? Sometimes you want to be really tough and don't let anyone cross certain borders with you. But on the other hand, sometimes you want to be more flexible. Learning when it's time to fight and when it's time to spar, it's an incredibly important skill and incredibly important lesson you can learn from martial arts and apply them in business. Lesson number 6 is especially true for amateurs, but it's also true for masters. When you're trying to learn a new tactic, a new technique, a new strategy, so many people would just say, nah, it's not good for me. I can see it on YouTube all the time. I can see it in the business world all the time. People are watching videos, are listening to advice. People are talking to people and they are just criticizing whatever they're saying without ever trying it, or they're just trying it just a little bit and then saying, nah, it doesn't work for me. And that's not the right way to do it. If you want to actually try something in business or in martial arts, you will have to actually develop the technique. You will actually have to train it. You will actually have to follow instructions to detail, to practice it over and over again, be good at it, and then decide if it fits you or if it doesn't. I'm obviously not saying you have to master everything. It's impossible. You have to master just several things, but when you decide to try something, give it a real try. If you're saying, for example, Facebook marketing won't work for me, email marketing is dead, it's too old, it won't work for me. I know so many people who are using old school technology or old school marketing techniques and they are crushing it in their businesses. And so it's all a matter of your level of skill. If you decide you're going to be amazing at it, you can probably do it. Just like the saying that was associated to Bruce Lee, that he's not afraid of a person who knows 1,000 types of kicks and he's afraid of someone who practiced one kick 1,000 times. It's exactly the same in business. You will have to learn to master just the core things that you decide are the most important to your business. Lesson number 7. So lesson number 7 is having a mentor. Having a mentor that you can look up to, but is not so far away from you. Of course, I love learning from the greatest. I like learning from Warren Buffett and people in this caliber. But also, I have to have, and I believe every business owner have to have someone, a mentor he can look up to that is just a few levels, just a few steps ahead of him. And I can tell you that every time my business jumped, I had a mentor. I had a mentor who was just a couple of steps ahead of me. And I remember the first time that my business really exploded, really blew. What happened is I surpassed several of my mentors. And then my business got to some sort of a freezing stage because I had no inspiration. I had no mentor for a short period of time. And so I had to find someone new. I had to find someone that is better, that is the right fit for me in this phase. So in every phase of your business, you will have to probably find different mentors. And this is also another tip. I rarely recommend someone to have only one business mentor. I believe you should probably have 2 to 4 different business mentors who have different values, different skill sets, different strengths, different opinions, different views. But the one thing that has to be in common for for all of them actually, is that they will have to be several steps ahead of you in business, not too far, not too close. And those people, of course, you can pay them. They can be your friend, they can be from your family, or whatever. It doesn't really matter. The thing that matters is that they will be present in your life, and so you too can look up to them. And if you also want to grow your business way beyond what your mentors actually think is possible, watch this video about exponential growth and the 3 lessons that took me there.